The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Learn more about Laserfiche Roadmap, Analyst Reviews, and Future Capabilities. My name is Kimberly Samuelson, and I will be your moderator/facilitator today. Before introducing our speakers, let's quickly run through the GoToWebinar UI. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box into your GoToWebinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. I'll be monitoring during the presentation, and we've earmarked plenty of time for questions, plus we'll always take questions via email. Also, the presentation will have some detail and looks best in full screen mode. So you'll want to enable that by clicking the Share Full Screen option. Finally, yes, we're recording the webinar and we will post it to our website, so you can share it with colleagues or view it again. And since you've all registered for the webinar, I will send you the link as soon as it is live.
How's that looking?
Looks great.
Great. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. Again, I'm Alex Wong, Product Marketing Manager. Been with Laserfiche for 1 year now, just celebrated my 1-year anniversary, woohoo. So a little bit about the agenda. We are gonna go through some recent recognition of Laserfiche in the industry. We're gonna go through our development approach and our approach to Laserfiche 12, which is coming out next year. I'm gonna take us through some AI innovation, and I understand that many of our customers on this call today are on our cloud service. So the AI innovation efforts are really going to be interesting for you all. And then we're going to have Q&A at the end. So with that, let me jump into some recent recognition we've had. So we've been recently recognized by Nucleus Research, G2, and Gartner Peer Insights. And I'll go through some of these. One notable one, and this is all based on real customer reviews, like you, thank you. 93% of our customers would recommend us. We have some of the highest rating product capabilities, integration and deployment, and service and support ratings across the board. And again, all of that comes from our customers like you who rate us so highly and also give us the feedback so that we can continue to improve our product suite. So quickly on Nucleus Research, we have been named a leader in the 2023 Nucleus Research Technology Value Matrix for content services and collaboration for 8 years running. We've been rated a strong performer by Forrester in their Forrester Wave report. And G2 rates us the #1 enterprise content management system on the market. And again, this is from unbiased customer reviews coming from real customers like you that rank the very best tech solutions on G2. So I want to just give those highlights. Thank you for being a customer. Thank you for leaving those reviews on our platforms. And thank you for continuing to partner with us as we continue to improve our platform. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pava, who will take us through our development approach and upcoming features for next year.
All right, thanks, Alex. Let me just get things shared over.
Let me make you the presenter. There you go. You should be a presenter now.
All right. So I think you should be able to see my screen at this point. The joys of switching between different presenters, of course.
Yes, I can see you.
All right. So yeah, what I want to do today is just give you a little bit of an overview into what Laserfiche is working on, particularly looking at the features we're looking at bringing to everyone over the next year or so, and doing so in the vein of our overall development approach. You get an idea of kind of what we're really focusing on right now. So to start, I actually want to talk very briefly about how we are approaching development. We're really focused on continuous deployment through our Laserfiche cloud service. So we have monthly feature releases. So every month on Laserfiche cloud, we have our monthly releases. So, example here, June, July, August, etc., with our features, and then the continuous deployments for operational updates. And we're doing this as our focus here is to be able to innovate more quickly and deliver items to everyone sooner, and to be able to, sort of measure those and learn from those and build from those continuously. We're also continuing to put out generally semi-annually self-hosted feature releases as well for our self-hosted customers. Now that said, this upcoming year, a big focus of ours is on Laserfiche 12, which is coming near the end of 2024, which, 2024 is practically, we're practically there already, right? And this really is an opportunity where we're providing some new features and really focusing on quality of life enhancements that have come from customer feedback, and also on upgrade and deployment complexity to reduce that. So the idea here is, alongside that continuous focus of our Laserfiche cloud releases, this year specifically, we're also doing Laserfiche 12 for self-hosted for continued supporting self-hosted customers, and another opportunity to try out new functionality and new enhancements. And because I'm coming from you up here in Seattle, every time I talk about 12, I have to interject, some Seahawks jokes in there as well, right? All right. Oh, what did I click? All right. So Laserfiche's product vision is to enhance productivity through innovative content-centric process automation, delivery of insights for organizational data, which is, it's a lot of words. It's really about these 5 pillars that I'm going to go through, and that's where you really see the heart of our feature development here. So the first one is about process design and application development. And this is really about extending who can build processes. So Laserfiche has always had very, very powerful process design capabilities using, forms and workflow. And what we really have been focusing on recently is making it easier for a citizen developer. That is someone for whom IT and process building isn't necessarily their full-time role, to be able to build processes themselves. And you might say, well, why does that matter? I've got my, solution provider, my reseller can build my processes. I've got IT can build my processes. Well, it's about getting processes built quicker and more reliably. So traditionally, you might have a process, in this case, coming out of, HR. It goes to the process designer, and then the process designer goes to IT. But IT, of course, has a really big backlog. So they're not going to get to it right away. In the meantime, maybe the process changes. There needs to be more work. IT's moved on to something else. And then it has to finally go back for review. And you go through, it takes a very long time to get things released. They can get released, they can get made, and it's great, everything getting made, but it takes more time than ideally it would. It's about being able to be more agile. So by focusing on designer tools for citizen developers, the idea is that the person from HR, the business owner of the process, can go ahead and use the tools themselves, publish it themselves. We just had that inside Laserfiche ourselves. We had this come up with our end of year review process, where HR built it themselves and was able to go in and deploy throughout. So it really sped up being able to both build it, but also to adapt to it. Oh, something wasn't quite right in the process. Great, the person who's building it is the expert on what it needs to happen. So a few things that we're working on looking at in the next year to really help with this is that idea of putting more of that right in the fingers of the person who's the business owner. So some places where we've seen it sometimes can get a little more tricky is working with documents in a process. So for example, say you have scenarios where a process needs to, has content that comes out of it. Of course, most processes do have content related to it. Well, let's make it easier for people to know where that content goes, or to be able to specify what happens with it without needing to worry about, oh, this person needs to have special credentials or special rights that maybe only someone in IT would do. So be able to have profiles that can be predefined and used, as well as easier ways to test the process as it's being built. And that actually comes to the first of what I have a sneak peek here of some key features that we're particularly excited about coming out in this case, Laserfiche 12 later into 2024. And this is about a test mode for forms. So the idea here is that obviously when you build a process, there's a lot of logic in it, right? You have things that need to go to people for approvals, content that needs to be stored in the repository that comes out of the process. Emails need to get sent to someone, tasks need to be assigned to people. And when you test the process, you're always trying to juggle, well, I need to test it, but I don't want to keep spamming these people. Maybe this goes to your director and you don't want your director to get spammed every single time. And you're saying, no, it's a test, it's okay. So the idea with the test mode is to be able to have it run where just everything can just be sent to you as part of the test, let's say, as the person who's running the test. You could do that, of course, by manually changing things, but then you have to manually change things back. It's not a pure test, it's changed. So this is something that we're really excited about, being able to bring this ability to more easily test a process without having to worry about changing who it's being sent to or spamming a lot. The next pillar is about workflow automation and enterprise integrations. And this includes both integrations, say, through APIs, as well as no-code templates, Business Hub connectors, and then all the automation that brings it all together. Recently, we've been really focusing on the Laserfiche Marketplace as a vehicle for this. So the Laserfiche Marketplace has over 350 solutions that it includes, and these are solution templates that anyone can download and use within their system. So these include pre-built forms processes, workflow processes, repository structures. So if you're looking to build something in that same vein of making it easier to build processes right out of the gate, you can go to the marketplace and see, did something, sorry, it keeps pausing me. You can go to the marketplace and see, oh, is there a solution for this already? And these are coming from ones we've built, from our solution providers, also from members of the Laserfiche community. And while it's called a marketplace, I do want to stress the vast majority of items on here are free downloads. So, and this includes integrations, process design strategies, as well as. So one of the things where we're really looking at into next year is making it easier to deploy these solution templates and deploy our processes. So for Laserfiche Cloud, we're working on a deployment service. And what this is that it's a one place where you can basically have an entire solution across Laserfiche been defined. So forms, but also workflow, folder structure, template information, existing content perhaps, and it's all in one bundled package, and it can just be imported into a cloud environment and deployed basically with one click. And this is useful for solution templates. It's also useful for people, say, going between, say, a dev or a test or a production environment as doing process promotion as well, but across the entire system. And what I find is really cool about the possibility for this is that you can also build the templates through this deployment service as well, and actually see an entire system that gets of a process, an entire process that is basically laid out in a text format. So you could get a process, say, from the solution marketplace, and then go through in a text file and update what needs to be done to make it appropriate for your organization. And then you just deploy it through the deployment service, which is all something that, I'm particularly excited about. I think this is a really cool possibility, is to make it easier for that fundamental goal of adding more processes more quickly, making it easier to build your own from the process owner, the person who really knows what the process needs to do, but also leveraging these other capabilities, leveraging what other organizations have put together with the marketplace. Now, intelligent processing in AI is a huge pillar and a huge area where we are putting a lot of investigation into. The main key aspect is looking at tools like generative AI and seeing where they can better address some of the problems that we've been looking to solve for the whole time we've been working on content services and business process automation here. Alex is actually going to have a whole section on our approach and some of our upcoming features for intelligent processing and AI. So I'm going to actually skip this pillar in my part, and he'll circle back to it with a deep dive after I'm done. So just wait a couple minutes on that, and there's some really cool stuff there. Now, data management is, at a lot of times, sort of the backbone of why you're doing all of these processes. There's a lot of emphasis on building a process and of the workflow around it. But in a lot of cases, really it's about moving data around in some way or generating data from a process. And we're really putting work into making it easier to work with and share this data. So one of the things that's actually been a big topic is migration. And you might say, well, okay, why is migration a feature? Well, one of the things that we have is a lot of our customers, a lot of organizations are currently Laserfiche self-hosted customers. And obviously we have a lot of functionality coming out for self-hosted because we've got all of Laserfiche 12 that I'm talking about. That's a big push. But a lot of organizations want to be on a cloud-hosted system and take advantage of, again, also some of the functionality like the AI items, AI enhancements that Alex is going to talk about by being on Laserfiche Cloud. So we're working on making that migration smoother. And the idea is we want organizations to be able to be on what environment you want to be on, what makes sense. We don't want it to be, well, I'm on self-hosted and I guess that's what I'm going to be on because I was there. So the idea with the migration readiness assessment tool is you can actually run this on a self-hosted installation, and it will go through and look at your processes, look at your activities, look at what you're doing with the system, and give recommendations on, is this ready for Laserfiche Cloud? Is this something that can be migrated? And this is essential because some of the approaches have changed with a cloud system just because of changes to best practices for how processes should be built. So this will help identify those. And these are things people can either do as part of a migration or, frankly, even independent. While it's focused around migration, you could run this just to get an overview of your system and get recommendations of ways to update how your system is being, how you've built your processes, basically, to evolve them for the latest best practices. Another place where we're looking at updating how we're working with data is with Laserfiche metadata. So these are the fields, alongside all the content in the Laserfiche system. These are pretty core to just about, everything that's done within Laserfiche. A lot of what happens with automating processes, of course, is turning unstructured data of content, maybe in a document, something that was emailed to you, etc., into structured data with fields. So we want to make fields more configurable for everyone. so that you can design the field layout however you want to for the content it is, whether that's put tables in fields like I have here, maybe rules within fields, so certain things show up, based on values that are in others, maybe have actions directly in there. The idea is we're looking at a whole designer so that you're not limited in what you can do with metadata alongside your content. And then fundamentally, everything relies on robust security and governance and records management underpinning all of it. A lot of people first are using Laserfiche because of compliance considerations, records management considerations, and then we continue to want to make it easy to administer Laserfiche alongside the rest of your organization. So a big thing here is about making it easier to integrate Laserfiche along with for identity management. So what I mean here is most organizations these days have some identity management, Azure AD, Okta, Active Directory, and you don't want to have to manage your organization's identity system and directory, your identity, your organization's users, and manage Laserfiche separately. So the idea is really to keep them all in sync. Now, there's a lot of tools for that already, but there's more that can be done to make it more seamless. For example, if someone within your organization changes what department they work in, having that automatically update within Laserfiche to update what security they have access to, if you have security based by, say, what department they're in. So keeping that all in sync is what the core aspect here is. So that's just an overview of some of the key items that we're looking at. There's more than what I covered right there, but I really wanted to give you kind of a sampling, some examples of what themes we're really focusing on and how that translates into features that I'm really excited about and looking forward to bringing to everyone. Those aren't entirely the full things we're working on. We're also looking at making it easier to deploy and upgrade as well. Again, looking at Laserfiche 12 for those of you using self-hosted systems, or even in the case of Laserfiche Cloud, where people are with applications that are installed locally, desktop applications. We're looking at modernizing the installations that are used with it and the approaches for configuration so that upgrades don't have to be complex, so that people, that you can always feel comfortable being, getting to the latest to have access to these types of features that we're talking about. And I do always want to stress that we're also really looking at all of those, day-to-day annoyances, those things that don't become support cases, don't become big ticket features that are what's, press releases are about, but that, really, kind of can nag day to day. So a big part of what we're looking at from a usability standpoint in Laserfiche 12 and in Laserfiche Cloud over the next year are really trying to hammer out a lot of these day-to-day annoyances. And we have a customer panel that the Laserfiche product team does, and we get a lot of this input from that customer panel. So just throwing a little plug out here, if you're interested, you can follow that and check out the customer panel directly with members of the Laserfiche product team. So just to give an overview, like I said, Laserfiche 12 is a bit of a push this year. A lot of these features will be available in both cloud and self-hosted, but 12 is where we want to make sure we have that starting point there. And so this is an overview of some of those items to look forward to for Laserfiche 12, and emphasizing, like I said, for those two key things of the template metadata designer, being able to basically make your field view look however you want it to look, do whatever you want with there for what's best for your organization, and that test mode to make it easier in forms to build processes and try them out without having to worry about, oh, am I going to keep, spamming someone who's on the process the whole time? So if you want to see more of these, I just obviously have to note Laserfiche Empower. This is in April of next year. And we're going to have a hands-on preview of Laserfiche 12 there and a number of those features that I spoke to. So just wanted to throw that out. If you're interested in really getting a hands-on view before Q4 of next year comes around, that'll be an opportunity to do so, along with, of course, everything else that's offered with Empower, with training and information that would be available there. So with that, I am going to turn this back over to Alex, and he's going to really dive into what we're doing with the topic of AI, with that third pillar.
Thanks, Pava. Let me try to see if I can share my webcam. Hey, hopefully you all can see me now, and let me share my screen. Okay. Pava, can you see my screen?
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay, so I'm going to go through our approach to generative AI. As you might have seen, even this morning, Google just released their competitor to OpenAI's ChatGPT this morning, and so there's a lot of buzz on the airwaves right now just about their latest approach with generative AI. They say it's going to be more powerful than ChatGPT-4. We'll see. But it just goes to show that daily there are there's news and new developments in the generative AI space. And like any other organization, Laserfiche is looking how we can use generative AI for productivity for our customers. So let me just touch on that first. So as Pava mentioned, this is part of our intelligent processing and AI. This effort is part of our intelligent processing and AI development pillar. And we've had AI for a while with our smart invoice capture tools and our translation, transcription services that are all powered by AWS. Those have been live for almost 2 years now. So generative AI is just the next phase of our approach with artificial intelligence, and especially the developments of Gen AI. But it's important to note that really from the start, we want to take a very measured approach to our developments with Gen AI. As I mentioned, there's new developments every day. How do we create a framework to make sure that there's governance of our use of Gen AI in a way that's consistent with our values as an organization? For example, here's a recent Wall Street Journal. Companies are going to use generative AI. Many companies are already using it, but will they tell you about it if they're using it? Will customers know if technology is being used? We actually had a quote in this from our CIO, Thomas Phelps. We've implemented some restrictions, some rules, some guardrails on how we use generative AI. So first of all, any employee of Laserfiche is prohibited from using generative AI or representing generative AI content as their own. And we are required to disclose, to identify AI generated material used. We've implemented an entire generative AI governance and usage policy for our organization with a clear scope, definitions of its use, and compliance rules that all of our employees must follow. And this applies to how we develop with generative AI as well. So security, safety, customer data, right, is at the forefront of our approach, on our minds as we develop the new technologies with generative AI. But that said, I mean, looking at these features that we're looking to do over the next few months, we really are trying to evaluate, well, what's high value and high productivity. I mentioned productivity as kind of the key driver for us, because if there's productivity increases based on making all of our lives easier, your day-to-day lives easier, that's a win for us. So we want that high value, high productivity up and to the right. And how are we going to approach it? Well, we've got, first a product idea, some discovery. We're going to build, measure, and learn. So it's an iterative process, and identify if we're creating value at the end of that process. And then we also have to figure out if it's feasible, right? So we have an idea, we're going to build, measure, learn, and find out what's possible and what's not. I mentioned this already, but we've already have some AI ML capabilities, including that smart invoice capture, A/B transcription, and we have released a generative AI powered regular expression builder, which I'll. But also in discovery right now are additional tools around document summarization, document classification. I'll talk about those, and even more on the horizon as well that I can share. So document summarization, RegEx is live. I'll go through the RegEx live demo in a minute, as I mentioned. But summarization is kind of next on our list and what we're looking at. Why? Well, viewing documents is our #1 activity within Laserfiche. Some of our customers view hundreds of documents a day, and these high volume, very manual tasks are very good targets for efficiency efforts with generative AI. How can we make these manual high volume tasks easier? So you can see we did a whole analysis of our repository users, what they do, what they open, what they upload. And we found that 7 events accounted for most of the activity. Okay. So the first example of this is, and what we're thinking about is a summarization of documents. So imagine you upload a document to the repository, and we're able to give you an AI-generated summary of what is included, what is inside that document, without you having to open it. So, imagine you have a whole stack of docs within your repository. You're like, what is this thing? You can right-click on it, get a quick summary of what it is without having to search and manually understand what is inside that document. Here's an example of an invoice. So imagine you have a whole folder of invoices. If you want to find out what this particular invoice is, well, it can say, well, it's a sales receipt from Ace Uniforms of Phoenix. Here's the total. Here's the name. Here's the logo. Here's the specific instructions. So that is the power of generative AI, to be able to look through these documents, understand what's contained in it, and give you a quick summary so that it can make your life easier in the name of productivity. Another example, we could even do it for recorded meetings as well. So say you have a recorded demo, a video, an audio file, from like a local city government meeting. You can pop that into Laserfiche, and we can give you an AI summary of what's included inside of that demo video, inside that video. Really, really powerful, we think. And so use case, summarizing search results. This is a future one as well we're looking at. Can you basically look at all the search results, get a summary for what's included inside of that document, right? And then take some action based on what is inside that stored document. So summarize it, create that summary, and then email that summary. So other use cases, documents from subscribed folders that you're in, documents from subscribed authors or sources, FAQs, most important documents, what's the stuff that your team goes to on a regular basis, make sure that those are summarized and easy to find. There's a lot of different applications for document management with generative AI. So an example of classification that we're looking at. So for end users, that's like auto tagging your files, making it easier to search and find them, store them, file them, importing profiles, finding documents that are related based on the classification that's assigned based on generative AI. For administrators, it's really for helping, with training and helping with records management. So some good use cases for classification. And then the long-term goal is streamlining automation. How can we use generative AI for automation? Nothing to share really here yet, but we're looking at it. Things like content pre-processing, classification, data extraction, validation, analysis, all of that could harness Gen AI to make automation even faster, building automation even faster. Okay, now I'll talk about what we have released, which is the regular expression builder. And if you're not familiar with regular expressions, it is a very powerful but a little bit convoluted way of validating code. So here's this example is validating an international phone number. So here you want to write a regular expression in for a form, make sure that it's an international phone number in a specific format. Well, there's all sorts of rules around that. And the code generative, the regular expression code looks like this. The regex code kind of could look like this to validate the numbers. And so you can actually have our Gen AI powered by OpenAI write this expression on your behalf or validate an expression that you've already written to make sure that it's accurate. So really helpful, so you don't have to remember all of the super convoluted rules around validating data inside of your form. Say you want to have a postal code or a phone number or a social security number, right? All validated with regular expressions. Now you can have a handy helper with our regular expression builder. And this is live today. Yeah, here's an example of validating a phone number. Well, here, the value doesn't match the phone number if you try to submit it with this phone number, right? It's going to have to match the designated and regular expressions with that. Okay, so the key takeaways for me are: one, we are flexibly implementing Gen AI to meet our customer needs. So again, document summarization being document management, we see it as the #1 activity. We are rapidly innovating with functionality, and we have a roadmap of use cases. I shared a little bit of preview of that, of what's coming next. So we've got regex builder, then we've got document summarization, and then some document classification. Long-term roadmap where we're going is we want to work towards automation. And then finally, we want to help guide CIOs on organizational governance for the responsible use of Gen AI. We're happy to speak to any CIO. Thomas is happy to speak to any CIO of any of our customers who want to learn more about how we've implemented our generative AI policy so that it can be a model for you at your organizations. And then finally, just a final plug for Empower 24. Again, you can get a hands-on preview of everything that Pava shared for Laserfiche 12. I will be attending Empower 2024. Would love to meet you all. Passes, of course, are now available. You can go to empower.laserfiche.com to learn more and see our agendas. One also note is we are collecting award nominations for our Run Smarter Awards. So if you at your organization have used Laserfiche and done something really interesting or powerful, shown a lot of value, gotten some really great ROI from your implementation of Laserfiche, please consider submitting a nomination for a Run Smarter Award. You can nominate yourself. You can go to our website, empower.laserfiche.com, submit for a Run Smarter Award. I do want to just stress that there is a little bit of urgency. Friday is our deadline. So if you do have some thoughts on some interesting things that you've done at your organization that have really, again, shown that ROI for you, please consider making that award nomination on our website. Again, you can go to empower.laserfiche.com for that. And our deadline for that is this Friday. So please take a look if you're interested. So with that, I will turn it over to Kimberly, who can help us run our Q&A.
Hi, was Justin supposed to take it again, or is this the final? Okay. Now I would like to introduce Jamie Dunn. Jamie?
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you guys. So far, so great. I've already actually gotten a few emails here of people very interested in implementing the AI documents summarization stuff. So looks like we're off to a fantastic start. I'm just going to take a couple minutes here. There's been some chatter that you guys have probably heard about. Laserfiche has announced that they will be sunsetting the Laserfiche Avante and Rio perpetual licensing. So just wanted to go through and just share some of the options that are available of self-hosted and cloud options that Laserfiche will still be providing. So the first one, Laserfiche self-hosted subscription. You can see there's like 3 tiers here: the starter, professional, and business. Self-hosted, obviously, you get some aren't all too comfortable just yet about going up to cloud, and they like to have their own data with their own security measures. So this is just one of the options that you have. The starter solution, you could just be a one user, and this is more just an electronic filing cabinet, a really basic way to get your documents into Laserfiche. Next would be the professional tier, which starts at 10 users. This will come with workflow and forms and connector, but also gives you an a la carte option to add some of the other modules that you guys might be interested in. And then lastly, the business tier. Business tier starts at 25 users, and it's kind of Laserfiche throwing the whole book at you, which is really nice. So you're getting just about all the modules that they have to offer, minus just the participant users, community users, and then Laserfiche Vault, which has been a pretty big hit lately here too for managing records and being able to destroy them. So after self-hosted, we would go to the Laserfiche cloud hosted. So that is done through AWS, a super secure option for managing up in the cloud there. Very similar to the self-hosted. You'll see the 3 different tiers. And again, starter, kind of like that electronic filing cabinet. Professional moves over for 5 users, which you can see adds a lot more functionality, but with the a la carte options of adding things like public portal and forms portal. And then lastly, that business tier, where you will see that starts at 25 users, and kind of like the self-hosted, they throw kind of just about every module at you. You get the unlimited public portal, unlimited forms portal, and then the opportunity to add some of the additional functionality at the end there as well. So with both of those options, just remember that you do have the municipality and educational site licenses available. So if you are a smaller city or a smaller educational organization, they do provide site licenses for really great, incredible, aggressive pricing for some of the smaller districts that are out there. So lastly, Pava mentioned a little bit on it, but many are interested of, if you do have a self-hosted solution, how do we get up to the cloud? So good news, as your partner, Complete Paperless is here to help you with this process. We will go through and do a current server check and making sure that everything is healthy and will survive the trip up to the cloud. We'll go through your user and group accounts, making sure that everything that you have on your self-hosted maps over up into the cloud. and making sure it's working exactly how you're expecting it to. Same thing with the workflows and forms that you might have. Those all have to get transferred up to the cloud, so we're going to go ahead and manage that for you guys, and then we will finally schedule that migration. So once that cloud instance is ready and signed off, we will have kind of like a cutoff date where you will start using your cloud solution. And then once the QCs are done and everybody is happy with everything that's been moved up, they will do that final purge of the recycle bin. So once that is done, then you guys would be officially up in the cloud and ready to go. So with that being said, I appreciate your time and throw it back to Kim for any questions that you guys might have.
Thanks, everybody. Looks like it's my turn again. I just wanted to start out by saying I very much appreciated what Alex and Pava said about the new features and functionality and the importance of making everyday life easier. I don't know if all of you had the pleasure of meeting the founder of Laserfiche, Nelly Wacker, but that's essentially why she created the product. She wanted to create a software that would make people's lives easier. So I very, very much appreciate that. So with that being said, let's go to the questions. And again, a reminder, please ask your questions in the question box as part of the Go to the Webinar panel. And I'm going to read them out loud so everybody can hear them. So let's get started. It's funny how the type is so tiny. Will the AI summary work on emails? I think that's a Justin or an Alex.
Yeah, I can take that.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically the AI summary will work on anything that has any content in the repository that has text. So it works on image documents, it should work on emails, it also will work on audio and video files that, as Alex noted, have gone through our currently existing AI technology of the automatic transcription as well.
So to that, does the user of this system, or anyway, making these changes, do they need to know coding? Like, I guess, what skill level are you imagining them at?
For which aspect? For summarization?
You know, building, well, so some of the things you set up. So gotcha. The testing for workflows, for instance.
Right. So the idea is to avoid a requirement on a coding background. So you'd want to be, have familiarity with the application, which is what we're focusing on, simplifying, making it easier to do these aspects, even if it's not someone's primary role. And the idea is to not have to rely on coding, making use of the designer tools, or say the solution templates, which already have a lot of that already baked in, and then can just be updated through the application interfaces to what is matched for the organizations. Now, there's always additional power that can be done through API coding or through maybe web requests or direct integrations, but we want that to be optional, so that's there for people who can take advantage of it or in a position to take advantage of it, and that's not mandatory in order to do to build processes that shouldn't need that.
So you're saying, like, I should be able to do it, is what you're saying. Perhaps, right?
That would be the idea. No, that would be the idea. That would be the idea. We want it's really the point is we want that the person who is the expert in what the process should do. All of these processes are being built for a reason. No one's generally building, business processes because they feel it's a fun activity. Although I hope one day it's that fun to use that people would.
Right.
But no one's necessarily building them because it's a fun activity. It's because you have a need for these processes. So the idea is we want to move building the processes to those who know what the goals of them are, know why we need them. So we don't have to go back and forth between different departments. I know why I need this process. I can just go in and make this change myself.
Okay. So I guess it's an effort to involve less people in the actual building of the processes.
Right. One of the ways we're using that internally,
I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. One of the ways we're doing it in using it internally is we do have someone whose focus is building processes, and he focuses on building some of the processes coming in from the executive team.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we have this specific mission critical thing that needs to be done right now. It needs to integrate with 3 of our other systems. It's a more complicated one, and he can focus on that. And meanwhile, we have processes like I mentioned, the employee review process that just got completed, for example, with end of year, items along those lines, which were built directly out of our HR and people ops groups without having to bring in, say, a dedicated process designer in order to do that. And then once the other ones are made, even if they needed the process designer to make them in the first place, the idea is that others could update them. So, for example, if business logic changed, they could do that directly through tools like lookup tables without having to, which are all, again, through the application interface, without having to go back to a dedicated process designer or IT expert in order to make those changes.
For those planning on doing the gold training, would you suggest they wait until 12 comes out?
So we are actually looking at updating the gold training right now. So it would be, I think 12 maybe a good time frame, but even alongside that, there's an update going on with our learning and development group. They're updating the training right now. So I think that would be the key thing. That said, we are working with the L&D group to have training ready to go as part of the Laserfiche 12 release. That's one of the big things. We don't want a scenario where the release comes out and then the training trickles in, a couple years later. So we're actually approaching that release time frame alongside with the certification, so that we'll have those ready to go alongside Laserfiche 12. So if organizations are, planning to update to Laserfiche 12 right away, we'll have that training available, ready to go right then. And then even regardless of that, there's been updates to the certification alongside both Laserfiche 12 and our developments, our enhancements in Laserfiche Cloud.
So so thought is being put into releasing things in parallel simultaneously.
Yes.
If that would make sense. Good. That's good news. Any word of improving the user function to find an easy way what forms a user has access to so they can easily be duplicated? I've actually heard this a few times.
So the idea is I have a form, I want to find it quickly so I can clone it. So I can copy it, or
you're an administrator and you need to see what the user has access to.
Yeah, I don't have something on that right now, but I'll bring it back to the team, because one of the things we are looking at also, which is not quite far enough along that I didn't want to include it in the slides just yet. So, it's not quite there in where we're sure where we're going with it, but we are looking at increasing tools for organizations and administrators to have insight into what's going on with their system. So I'll bring that particular one as a suggestion for that team to look at as well. And it is something we're looking to have as part of 12, I just don't know exactly what form that will take just yet.
Right, right. No, I think that approach is becoming increasingly more important, especially when you consider cybersecurity and hacks, especially if they're internal, right? You've got to see what people have access to pretty quickly to shut that down.
Yeah.
Oh, so for the document summary functionality, this is another security question, and actually this is my question. Will security continue to be granular enough so a person who could maybe see a document summary, but you may not want to have access to the document, be able to occur?
It's a good question. Right now, there aren't plans of separating out the security of the summary itself separate from the document. I'll bring that along to the team though. Is there, I don't know, was there more of a scenario along with that, or just curious if those could be separated out?
I'm just thinking about forms that maybe contain PII. So there's an internal administrator who maybe needs to have access to some of the information because of some kind of processing, but they don't need to see a social security number. They don't need to see a driver's license number. So they don't need to see the whole form. But if the summary could give them everything that they do need, then they don't need access to that document, and it's another layer of security. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, I think Pav and I will take it back to the team. I believe I heard something very similar in our internal beta testing around access rights to the summarized data. So I think the team is looking at it. We'll confirm with them.
Cool. Thank you. Will on-premise data continue to be supported for the foreseeable future?
Well, we've got the whole Laserfiche 12 release coming, so absolutely.
Right, yeah. What are the dates that you're looking at to sunset and push people to cloud?
Well, there's no date for sunsetting self-hosted altogether. That's not something that we have any date or time frame for. Obviously, the sunset for our perpetual systems got mentioned earlier. But even with those will continue to be supported through Laserfiche 12, but as a starting point. And there are no dates and no plans on sunsetting self-hosted in general. We wouldn't be putting out a pretty big major release if that was the expectation. So clear for now. That said, I think, and what the way I've really been looking at it recently is, and I mentioned this a bit when talking about the assessment tool, is I want organizations to use the environment and the feature sets that make the most sense for each organization. So whether that's, through self-hosted subscription, whether that's through Laserfiche Cloud SaaS hosted, I want each organization to be able to say, okay, these are what matter to me. This is what's important. Maybe the idea is, okay, what's important is I want the secure hosting, knowing that all the security is covered, et cetera, that comes with Laserfiche Cloud, as well as the AI possibilities. Great. We have Laserfiche Cloud, and we're working on expanding those tools to make it easier for organizations who are currently on self-hosted systems to go to Laserfiche Cloud. Maybe organizations are concerned about storing their data themselves and data ownership considerations, in which case, great. Here, we're continuing to also work on supporting self-hosted. They are not going to be identical because each system can do and make use of different technologies, but both of them are valid and concurrent and expected to be supported. Yeah.
Right. Justin and I, previous to this webinar, actually just had a conversation about this, that there's definitely types of organizations who need to manage their data a certain way for compliance reasons or GDPR or what have you. And we understand that. So we want to keep them operational with a fresh wonderful version of Laserfiche, right? Right, Justin?
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't panic. Just want to put out one final call for questions. Go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
No, just was agreeing with you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that looks like that's it. If anyone has any other questions, you can send them over to us, to Jamie, or to me, Kay Samuelson at cps247.com. I'd like to thank Justin, Alex, and Jamie, and thank you to all our attendees. Please be sure to check out cps247.com for all types of content, such as blog posts, videos, and recorded webinars, including this webinar. And you'll get a notification in your email that the webinar is live, or the webinar recording is up. And we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.